Hello viewers, hopefully you watched, understood and liked my earlier video. In that video, I try to explain what makes us to face problems in our lives, how the stimulus response process influence our life, end up in failures which so often we called life problems, and the 7 habits based on universal, timeless, self-evident principles which for sure helps us in resolving or at least minimizing the so-called life problems. Today we are going to learn how and why these principles are relevant for today and they will be relevant for tomorrow, 10, 20 and 100 years from now to achieve enduring happiness. The world has changed dramatically since last few decades. Life is more complex, more stressful and more demanding. We have transitioned from the industrial age to knowledge worker age with all of its profound consequences. We face challenges and problems in our personal lives, our families, and our organizations unimagined even 1 and 2 decades. These challenges are not only of a new order of magnitude, they are altogether different in kind. These sweeping changes in society and rumbling shifts in marketplace give rise to a very important question I am asked so often. Are these principle based habits still relevant today? And for the matter, will they be relevant 10, 20, 50 and 100 years from now? My answer to the question, the greater the change and more difficult the challenges, the more relevant the habit become. The reason our problems and pain are universal and increasing, and the solutions to the problems are always based upon universal, timeless, self-evident principles common to every enduring, prospering society throughout the history. One of the most profound learning of our life is, if you want to achieve your highest aspiration and overcome your greatest challenges, identify and apply the principle that governs the result you seek. Success in any endeavor is always derived from acting in harmony with the principles to which the success is tied. Many people do not think this way. Minimum those who have ability to think consciously. In fact, they will often find the principled solutions stand in stark contrast to the common popular cultural practices. Allow me to illustrate this contrast with few of most common human challenges we face. First, fear and insecurity. So many people nowadays gripped with the sense of fear. They fear for their future. They feel vulnerable in their workplace. They are afraid of losing job and their ability to take care of their families. These vulnerabilities so often fosters a resignation to riskless living and codependency with workmates and family members. Our culture's common response to this problem is to become more and more independent. I'm going to focus on me and mine. I will do my job well first and then get on to my real joys of the job. Independence is an important, even vital value and achievement. But the problem is we live in interdependent reality and our most important accomplishments require interdependency skills well beyond our present abilities. Number two, I want it now. People want things and they want them now. I want money, I want a nice and big house, a nice car, the biggest and better entertainment center. I want it all and I deserve it. Though today's credit card society makes it easy to get it now and pay later, economic realities eventually set in and we are reminded, sometimes painfully, that our purchases cannot outstrip our ongoing ability to produce, pretending otherwise in unsustainable. The demand of interest are unrelenting and forgiving. Even working hard is not enough with the dizzying rate of change in technology and increasing competition driven by globalization of markets and technology. We must not only be educated, we must constantly re-educate and reinvent ourselves. We must develop our minds and continuously sharpen and invest in the development of our competencies to avoid becoming obsolete. At the work, the boss is there to drive the result for a good reason. Competition is brutal, survival is at stake. The need to produce today is today's reality and represents the demand of capital. But the real mantra of success is sustainability and growth. You may be able to meet your quarterly numbers, but the real question is, are you making a necessary investment that will sustain and increase that success for upcoming 10 or 20 years from now? Our culture and common practices cries for result today, but the principle of balancing the need to meet today's demand with the need to invest in the capabilities that will produce tomorrow's success is unavoidable. The same is true for our health, our marriage, our family relationship, and community needs. Number three, blame and victimism. Whenever we found a problem, we usually find the finger pointing of blame. Society is addicted to playing a victim. If only my boss wasn't such a controlling idiot. If only I hadn't been born so poor. If only I lived in a better place. If only my kids weren't so rebellious. If only the other departments did not mess up my project. If only we weren't in such declining industry. If only our people weren't so lazy and without drive. If only my wife was more understanding. If only, if only, if only. Blaming everyone and everything else for our problem and challenges may be the norm and may provide temporary relief from the pain, but it is also chains us to those problems. Find someone who is humble enough to accept and take responsibility for his or her circumstances and courageous enough to take whatever initiative is necessary to creatively work his or her way through or around the challenges, and you will see the supreme power of choice. Number 4, hopelessness. The children of blame are cynicism and hopelessness. When we succumb to believing that we are victims of our circumstances and yield to the plight of determinism, we lose hope, we lose drive, and we settle into resignation and stagnation. I am a pawn, a puppet, a cog in the wheel, and can do nothing about it. Just tell me what to do. So many bright, talented people feel this and suffer the broad range of discouragement and depression that follows. The survival response of a popular culture: just lower your expectation of life to the point that you are not disappointed by anyone or anything. The contrasting principle of growth and hope throughout history is the discovery that I am the creative force of my life. Number 5, lack of life balance. Life in our cell phone society is increasingly complex, demanding, stressful, and absolutely exhausting. For all our efforts to manage our time, do more, be more, and achieve greater efficiency through the wonders of modern technology. Why is it we increasingly find ourselves in the thick of thin things, subordinating health, family, integrity, and many of the things that matter most to our life? The problem is not our work, which is the sustaining engine of our life. It's not the complexity or change. The problem is that our modern culture says, go earlier, stay later, be more efficient, live with the sacrifice for now. But the truth is, the balance and peace of mind are not produced by this. They follow the person who develops a clear sense of his or her highest priorities and who lives with the focus and integrity towards them. Number 6, what is it for me? Our culture teaches us if we want something in life, we have to look out for number 1. It says life is a game, a race, a competition, and you better win it. Schoolmates, work colleagues, even family members are seen as competitors. The more they win, the less there is for you. Of course, we try to appear generous and cheer others' successes, but inwardly, privately, so many of us are eating our hearts out when others achieve. Many of the great things in the history of our civilization has been achieved by the independent will of a determined soul, but the greatest opportunities and boundless accomplishments of the knowledge worker age reserved for those who master the art of we. True greatness will be achieved through the abundant mind that works selflessly with mutual respect for mutual benefit. Number 7. The hunger to be understood. Few needs of human heart are greater than the need to be understood. To have a voice that is heard, respected, and valued, to have influence. Most believe that the key to influence is communication, getting your point across clearly and speaking persuasively. In fact, if you think about it, don't you find that while others are speaking to you, instead of really listening to understand, you are often busy preparing your response? The real beginning of influence comes as others sense you are being influenced by them. When they feel understood by you, that you have listened deeply and sincerely, and that you are open, but most of the people are too vulnerable emotionally to listen deeply, to suspend their agenda long enough to focus on understanding before they communicate their own ideas. Our culture cries out for, even demands, understanding and influence. However, the principle of influence, governed by mutual understanding, born of the commitment of at least one person to deep listening first. Number 8. Conflict and differences. People share too much in common yet are magnificently different. They think differently. They have different and sometimes competing values, motivations, and objectives. Conflicts naturally arise out of these differences. Society's competitive approach to resolving the conflict and differences tends to center on winning as much as you can, though much good has come from the skillful or of compromise of both sides. Give a little until an acceptable middle point reaches. Neither side ends up truly pleased. Number 9. Personal stagnation. Human nature is four-dimensional: body, mind, heart, and spirit. Consider the differences and fruits of the two approaches. First, for the body, the cultural tendency to maintain our lifestyle, treat health problems with surgery and medication. But the principle says prevent disease and problems by aligning your lifestyle to be in harmony with the established universally accepted principles of health. Now let's look at the mind. The culture says watch television, entertain me, but principle says read broadly and deeply, continuous education. Let's look at the heart. The culture says use relationship with others to forward the personal selfish interests. But the principle says deep respectful listening and serving others brings the greatest fulfillment and joy. Regarding the dimension of spirit, culture teaches succumb to the growing secularism and cynicism. The principle is this: recognize the source of our basic need of meaning, and the positive thinking we seek in life comes from principles. The natural laws, I personally believe, have their source in God.